Oh, shoot. I think I forgot to click a button, guys. Yikes. Technical difficulties. Wow. I forgot to click a button. We're live now, aren't we? Oops. I've been talking here for a few minutes. That's awkward. I guess I've been talking to myself this whole time. Well, good morning to everybody. Let's go ahead and start this thing from the top. Sheesh Louise. Look, I'm already into the stream and I didn't even know it. All right. Let's work out the technical difficulties here. Good morning to everybody who's joining the stream. Anthony, what's up? Josh, what's happening to you? Nick, good to see you this morning. MF June, Evan Smith's up in here. Ronald's Green, Jen, good to see everybody in here. Jonathan Newman, Wade, you're up in the building. Denzel, good to see you as well. Listen, this is totally my fault. There was a button that I didn't click. I had everything ready to go. I've been sitting here literally talking to myself for the last few minutes. Embarrassing. Rather embarrassing, I must say. You guys can hear me and see me now, though, right? I believe you can. And I believe you do, right? I believe this is all on me. I'll take this one. I'll take this one on the chin. Yeah. Been talking to myself here for like 5-10 minutes. Yep. Definitely have been. Definitely shouted everybody out. I definitely talked about a couple of the games already. Pretty awkward. Way to start the stream. Yeah. Embarrassing. Well, let's go ahead and start it from the top. Let's start it from the top. No, I definitely wasn't muted. But yeah, I had everything up and running, folks. Had everything up and running. There was one little button that I did not click. Technical difficulties. Look, I'm a one-man band. I'm running this whole shit by myself here. I'm producer, director, host, analyst, all at the same time. So sometimes I forget stuff. And it looks like today I forgot to click the magic button. All right. Well, go ahead and run those lights up. We're live now, baby. We're going to do it. Let's start things off here at the top. Listen, I promise to God I shouted every one of you out. Y'all just didn't see it, but it happened. 7:30 p.m. Detroit Pistons at the New York Knicks. 207.5 point total. 7.5 point spread in favor of the home team, the New York Knicks. We got to pay attention to the injury news from this game. Kelly Olynyk, Jeremy Grant, both ruled out for Detroit. On the New York Knicks side, tons of names. R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, Quentin Grimes, Kevin Knox, McBride, quickly all ruled out. Derrick Rose, a game time decision, so keep an eye out on him. He might be out as well. 7:30 p.m. also brings us the Indiana Pacers at the Miami Heat. TJ Warren, TJ McConnell, both ruled out for Indiana. Over on the Miami side, no Jimmy Butler, Tucker, Martin, Adebayo, Oladipo, Morris, and Harrow is a game time decision, so keep an eye out on Tyler Harrow. 208 point implied total with the visiting team, the Indiana Pacers, as 1.5 point favorites. 8 p.m. brings us the Portland Trail Blazers at the New Orleans Pelicans. For Portland, we got Damian Lillard as a game time decision. CJ McCollum and Cody Zeller are both out for Portland. For the New Orleans Pelicans, Satoransky, game time decision. Of course, no Zion Williamson, no Kira Lewis Jr. And then for the Minnesota-Dallas side of things, we've got Prince, Vanderbilt, Beverly, Edwards, Okogie all ruled out. Over on the Dallas side, Kristaps Porzingis is a game time decision. We've got Willie Cauley-Stein, Omorui, I don't know how to say his name, Bullock, Kleber, Green, and Luka Doncic have already been ruled out. This game does have a pretty decent total, though, 212.5 points with a 1 point spread in favor of the Minnesota T-Wolves. You want me to hire some help? Yeah, maybe I do need some help. No, I got this. I got this under control. Listen, I just forgot to click a button, guys. I apologize. I'm sitting here talking to myself for 5 or 10 minutes, saying what's up to everybody, wondering why nobody's saying what's up back to me. I nearly lost my marbles, y'all. But we're good now. We're back on track. 10 p.m. also brings us the Phoenix Suns at the Los Angeles Lakers. No Dario Saric, Frank Kaminsky, or Nader for the Phoenix Suns. Over on the Los Angeles Lakers side, we got Bradley, Howard, Nunn, Reeves, Monk, Taylor, Horton, Tucker, Bazemore, and Anthony Davis all ruled out for the Los Angeles Lakers. They've got a long list of names. So listen, guys, you're going to have to stay on top of the news. That's been the theme here lately. That will continue to be the theme going forward. Stay on top of the news. One of the best ways to do that is check out I think it's underdog_NBA, something like that on Twitter. They have one of the best news feeds out there for NBA news. I actually have their news feed being piped into the Discord. So if you're a member of my Discord community, you're going to get all the latest late breaking news over on Discord. So, all right. Now that we're on track, we're cooking with grease here. We can finally get into some player prop stuff. Man, I can't believe I was sitting there talking to myself the whole time. You guys are all like, where's he at? Where's he at? And I'm like, I'm right here. Can't you see me? Hey, I'm here. I'm live. I guess you guys couldn't see me, huh? Interesting. Well, water under the bridge at this point. We move forward from here. So that's all your NBA games tonight. We got what? 5 games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 NBA games. Not a huge slate, kind of a medium-sized slate, but we're going to do what we can to find the best picks possible. It is Taco Tuesday. PrizePicks is running their Taco Tuesday promotion. That's kind of being rolled into their 12 days of Picksmas over on PrizePicks. If you don't play on PrizePicks yet, now's a great time to get signed up. Take advantage of these daily promos that they're running all the way up until Christmas Day. You can use promo code Curry, like you see above my head here, or the link down in the description below. That'll get you a 100% instant deposit match. So you put in $50, they're going to match it. They're going to give you 50. You're going to have $100 to get you going over on PrizePicks, making your first entry on PrizePicks totally risk-free. Good morning to Sed. What's up? Good to see you as well, Nick. John, nice to have you this morning. Tony said he made some money last night. He's a member of our Patreon community. He said the NFL picks ended up helping him out. Nick, I appreciate that super chat, my friend. I don't even know if I did want to hire some help, how that would even work, but I got this under control. Mario says, good morning. It's Choppy from Discord. I don't know if you saw the winner circle, but Steph blessed us with bricks. Yeah, Steph Curry was full of bricks last night in the first half. That dude was putting up tons of shots against the Sacramento Kings. He was in a prime matchup against Sacramento, who was without De'Aaron Fox. And Curry, despite all the shots that he threw up, could not get it done in the first half for us. But listen, short-term memory, right? We got to move on and move forward from last night and try to find those winning picks tonight. Tonight is the night. So let's go ahead and do that now. Starting things off, we're going to be looking at some points props. Of course, we're going to go through rebounds, assists, and three-point makes. Let's get it started here. One of the top scorers, one of the guys that are getting it done at a high hit rate in terms of points is Miles Turner at 12.5 points. He's facing off against the Miami Heat. In his last 10 games, Miles Turner has went for more than 12.5 points in 70% of his games. So things are looking pretty good here for Turner. I don't know what's going on with the PrizePicks site. Let's try refreshing it here. Getting a little bit of delay. All the technical difficulties trying to get in our way this morning. There we go. We're back up and running here. Miles Turner at 12.5 points has gone over 12.5 points in 4 out of his last 5 games. It's an 80% hit rate. He's averaging 14.8 points per game in that span. So he takes on Miami tonight. That game gets started at 7:30 p.m. or 7:40 p.m. over on PrizePicks. So let's look at this matchup here for Miles Turner. Obviously, he plays center for the Indiana Pacers. So we're going to look at the center position. We're going to sort here by points allowed in the last 7 games. And then we're going to go find the Miami Heat. Real easy to use this tool. You go down toward the bottom of the list, Miami's given up just over 20 points per game. So not a great matchup. It doesn't look like Miami's like one of the teams that are giving up the most points in the last 7 games to the center position. But nonetheless, 20 does provide a little bit of upside here, a little bit of ceiling for Miles Turner to potentially go over once again. So 70% hit rate in his last 10 games, 80% hit rate in the last 5. So let's go pull up a projection for you. Let's refresh Action Labs. Make sure we have all of the projections preloaded in there. We'll go to the points category and we'll type in Turner's name. And I've got him projected for 13.8 points today, which puts him over 12.5 by 1.3. So a pretty decent edge there. But when you look at the various sports books, no action coming in on the over or under for Miles Turner just yet. But I will say this. without Bam Adebayo in there, without PJ Tucker in there, without Jimmy Butler in there, opposing big men have been feasting more often on this Miami Heat front court. It's pretty much Dwayne Dedmon trying to hold down the fort tonight. So I don't think anybody's really going to stand in Miles Turner's way, but that's one option for you to look at. He has been low-key hitting the overs on his points at just 12.5. All right, let's see what else we got here. Cade Cunningham at 18.5 points in his last 10 games, 70% hit rate for young Cade Cunningham at 18.5 points. He's got a 70% hit rate, but we're getting him at 17.5 points over on PrizePicks. So we're already seeing 1 point of value here over on PrizePicks. Just another reason for you to sign up and use PrizePicks as your primary way to play your favorite player props. Listen, Cade's coming off of a bad game against Miami where he had just 4 points in that game. But you know me. If you know me, you know that I love going back to a player prop when it's coming off of a flop. Bars. And Cade Cunningham is definitely coming off of a flop with just 4 points against the Miami Heat. Overall, in his last 5 games, though, 60% hit rate. He's gone 3 out of 5. That's a 17.2 point per game average here. Now, he's going up against a Knicks team that we talked about it. Has a ton of injuries today. A lot of people out. He might end up matched up against old Derrick Rose, the old man. Still got it. But listen, I love that matchup. If all those guys are truly out for New York tonight, maybe even Derrick Rose will be out. This could be a good matchup for Cade Cunningham. So he kind of serves as that point guard role, right? Him and Killian Hayes kind of interchangeable in that backcourt at point guard. But what we'll do is look at the last 7 games, see how many points are being allowed by this New York Knicks team to opposing point guards. So we got to go all the way down the list. They're actually kind of tough here at 16.5. Now that's when their lineup is like fully healthy, when they've got their full complement of players. So tonight that doesn't look like they're going to have their full complement of players. There's a whole lot of people going to be out for the New York Knicks. So this matchup should be a lot easier here for Cade Cunningham. Let's just take a look and see how the Knicks do against opposing shooting guards, because Cade kind of a combo guard, right? And things look a lot better here for the matchup in terms of shooting guards. They give up about 23.5 points per game in their last 7 games to opposing shooting guards. So I think that this is a good matchup with the Knicks reeling, with them playing with such a small, shortened rotation. A lot of guys in there that aren't starters will be in the lineup. So I think we're in a good spot here with Cade Cunningham to potentially take an over. So let's go ahead and take a look at Cade Cunningham's projection today. We'll use Action Labs for that. They've got him at just 15.6 points. I don't know if I agree with that. That seems a little bit low. So definitely compare this points projection on some of the other sites out there. There's lots of free sites with free projections if you want to look at those. But we are seeing him on 2 different sports books at 2 different point lines. So we got him at 17.5. At 17.5 on DK, he's a minus 120 to go over. We're also seeing him at 18.5 over on FanDuel. And at FanDuel, he's a minus 114 to go under 18.5. So in between 17.5 and 18.5 is 17 points, meaning he might end up, is 18 points. 18 points. Between 17.5 and 18.5 is 18 points, meaning we should be thinking about going over at 17.5 here, and maybe he lands on 18 or more points tonight. So he's another guy. Last 10 games, pretty high hit rate. Like I said, 70%, and that's at 18.5 points, but we're getting him at 17.5, so a point of value here over on PrizePicks. Another guy that's really standing out in his last 10 games is Jay Crowder. We're not going to get Jay Crowder up on the board just yet. Maybe he gets added later on in the night, but if he's up there at like 9.5 points, I like us taking the over on Jay Crowder at 9.5 points. That's a 70% hit rate for him in the last 10 games. So he's another guy to keep an eye out on. You could also look Karl Anthony Towns' way, because attacking the Dallas Mavericks with quality big men has been a boon for us. And if you don't know what that means, a boon means has been a good thing, a profitable way to go. So Karl Anthony Towns obviously fits that bill as a quality big man. And we love the matchup against the Dallas Mavericks here. In his last 10 games at 26.5 points, he's got a 60% hit rate, so it's not some outrageous like 80%, 90% hit rate, but we love the matchup, and that's what this is all about here. In his last 5 games, he's covered this prop in 2 out of 5. That's a 40% hit rate. He's averaging about 25.6 points per game. Now look, he just faced Dallas 1 game ago. He ended up with just 24 points against Dallas. I think this could be a good spot to go back to him here in this rematch, a back-to-back game versus this same Dallas Mavericks squad. So let's go take a look at the Mavs, see how many points they've been giving up in the last 7 games to opposing centers. And we'll go down here to about midway down, right? If you look at the list of names, they're giving up about 22 points per game to opposing centers. So, you know, kind of a average, middle of the road matchup. Not as good as it might have seemed to me. I guess they've been doing maybe a better job in their last 7 games. Maybe they're starting to finally tighten things up. But let's go pull a projection up for Mr. Karl Anthony Towns here. He's projected for 25.4 points, putting him under 26.4 by about a point. Now, at 26.5 points on 2 different books, he is projected, or the bettors are going under 26.5 points, minus 120, minus 116. So, I don't know. You know, maybe that good matchups versus the Dallas Mavericks thing has kind of dried up a little bit in the last 7 games. Maybe it's going to be a little tougher than we first thought. So we'll move on from him. Let's look at some options, maybe guys that you want to go under on. Jalen Brunson, 18.5 points, kind of deceiving. He's only got a 10% hit rate at 18.5 points. We know that Luka Doncic will be out tonight, so no Luka in the lineup. So be careful taking unders on Jalen Brunson. If you look at the last game against Minnesota without Luka, he drops 18 points. So he comes pretty close to going over today's prop of 18.5, but he did end up finishing under 18.5. Let's pull up a projection for Brunson real quick. Got him projected for 20 points. And on a couple of the different sportsbook sites, he's a betting favorite to go over 18.5. So again, if you're using a site like props.cash and you see a low hit rate for Jalen Brunson at 18.5 points, dig a little deeper. I'm just saying. Don't always just fall for, oh, it's a low hit rate, I got to go ahead and lock it in. No, you got to consider Luka Doncic will be out tonight. Jalen Brunson will get more run. And this could be a trap going under on Jalen Brunson at 18.5 points. All right. So there's an underplay for you. Another guy that could be a potential trap, Gabe Vincent. If you're thinking about going under on him, I mean, I guess you could consider it. He did have a bad game, though, in his last game against Detroit. Obviously, we talked about the Miami Heat being very, very short-handed tonight. You could see, though, that this guy's got 26 and 27-point upside. He's facing the Indiana Pacers tonight. So despite the fact that in his last 10 games, he's only covered 14.5 points in 20% of those games, he will be getting more opportunities and increased run with the Miami Heat. So just be careful taking unders on some of these guys that are going to be thrusted into a larger role. For reference purposes, I've got it projected for 12.3 points. We got them on 2 different sites here at 14.5. One site, people are taking the over. One site, people are taking the under. So he's going to probably be one that I just fade and look for a better play elsewhere. All right. So there you go. Those are some of the point props. Mario says, hit that like button and bless CJ. That's me. Bless me this morning by hitting the like button. Yeah. If you're just getting into the live stream, we had some technical difficulties. You guys were wondering, where is this dude? He's always on time. The stream was up, it was running, but there was like one final step, one last little button that I forgot to click. And that made all the difference in the world. I was sitting here talking to myself for a good 5 or 10 minutes. So, yeah, embarrassing, huh? That's the way it goes sometime. That's the way it goes. Anyways, moving on from the points props, let's head over to the rebound section, see what we're liking, what we're not. Again, Taco Tuesday will be running, so be minding your P's and Q's. Keep an eye out. They got some taco sweaters. What are they calling it today? Sweater tacos. I don't know what that means. Just know that there will be some player props floating around today that will be discounted. And we got NFL, so maybe we'll see some NFL discounts. Maybe we'll see some NBA discounts. Who knows? Who knows what PrizePicks is going to have in store for us today? All right, moving on to some rebound props here. One that's standing out to me is Isaiah Stewart at 8.5 rebounds, rather. 8.5 boards in his last 10 games, 70% hit rate. He's a pretty darn good rebounder. In fact, it's probably about the only thing that he does well. No disrespect, Isaiah Stewart. I love beef stew. Anyway, at 8.5 boards, last 10 games, 70% hit rate. If we look at his last 5 games, a 60% hit rate. So decent hit rates. He's averaging 9.2 rebounds per game in his last 5 games. So let's take a look at Isaiah Stewart in this matchup against the New York Knicks. Their front court pretty healthy. It's mostly their back court and wing players that are going to be out today. So again, we're looking at the last 7 games using Fantasy Pros. We click the center position. We go to rebounds. We sort from the most rebounds allowed to the least rebounds allowed. And then we go down the list and we find the New York Knicks. The Knicks doing a pretty decent job here. They're not allowing a whole ton of rebounds to the center position. So this matchup here for Isaiah Stewart could be a little bit tougher than what it appears. They're giving up 13.3 rebounds per game to opposing big men. So when you see these numbers and they're not in green, they're kind of in this like bronze or orangey color. This means difficult matchup. Green means good. They use kind of this orangey bronze copper color to mean bad or tough or difficult matchup. So things could be a little tough here for Isaiah Stewart. Knicks giving up just about 13.3 rebounds per game in their last 7 games to the center position. So let's pull up a projection here. Now that we know that the matchup's kind of a tough one for Stewart. He's got a high hit rate in the last 10 games, but this matchup's not ideal. If we look at the numbers here, I've got him projected for 9.7 boards against the Knicks today. We're seeing him at 9.5 rebounds on your favorite sports book, meaning we're getting a 1 rebound value here over on PrizePicks. So a difference of 1 rebound between the sports books and PrizePicks. At 9.5 rebounds, which is where you're going to find him out on DraftKings Sportsbook, he is a minus 135 to go under. But on PrizePicks, we got him at 8.5. So if he ends up somewhere around 9 rebounds and we take the over on Isaiah Stewart, then we end up cashing, right? So decent hit rates, difficult matchup, but we are seeing a little bit of value here on Isaiah Stewart's rebounds. Who are some other rebounders to consider? Let's see, looking for those higher hit rate guys. Dorian Finney-Smith at 5.5 boards. He's been getting it done in his last 10 games. DFS. We're talking DFS, so let's talk some DFS. At 5.5 boards in his last 10 games, a 60% hit rate. He has maintained that 60% hit rate in his last 5 games. His averages 5.6, slightly more than the 5.5 that he's listed at today. So let's take a look at Dorian Finney-Smith. We know the Mavericks are going to be shorthanded. They've got a lot of names that are going to be out of the lineup. Obviously, the biggest one, Luka Doncic, will not be in. We've even got Kristaps Porzingis as a game time decision, so we got to keep an eye on him. Now, DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith, kind of that small forward type of position, type of player for the Dallas Mavericks. The league's becoming so much more and more like positionless, but I think we could call him safely a small forward. So we go take a look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, see how many rebounds that they're giving up to the small forward position here. We go all the way down to the bottom. They're quite stingy, giving up just 6.4 rebounds. That's the 4th fewest rebounds to the small forward position over the last 7 games. So this is a difficult matchup for Dorian Finney-Smith. That's not to say that he won't have more of an opportunity with the injuries and the players being ruled out. But listen, the matchup's not looking great. 6.1 projected rebounds today. 6.1, which puts him over 5.5. And then at 5.5 rebounds, we got him as a betting favorite at minus 120 to go over. And in the last game against Minnesota, worth kind of pointing this out, he had just 3 rebounds. So I don't know. It's kind of one of those props that looks like looks like a fade for me. That's my Italian coming out in me. I don't know if you picked that up or not. I do have some Italian blood in me. Other guys to consider, Nerlens Noel at 5.5 rebounds. You could look at him as an option to go over. He's facing off against Detroit. He's been bumped up to 6 rebounds over on PrizePicks, but he's a guy that's got a decent hit rate. Another option could be Devontae Graham, but I'm not seeing him up on the PrizePicks board, so no need to go any further with that. Let's look at some of the low hit rate rebounders. Karl Anthony Towns going up against Dallas. Now, I mentioned attacking the Dallas Mavericks with quality big men has been working out, but in Karl Anthony Towns' case, at 10.5 rebounds, this dude has failed to go over 10.5 rebounds in 5 straight games. He is not boarding very well, all right? And in the last 10 games, he's got just a 10% hit rate going over 10.5 rebounds. So 10% hit rate in the last 10. 0% hit rate in his last 5, averaging just 7.6 rebounds per game. Now, in his last game against the Dallas Mavericks, he pulls in just 7 boards. Just 7 boards. Okay? This looks like a good under option so far. Good under option so far. But let's dig a little bit deeper, look into it a little bit further. We'll go to the center position. We'll go look at rebounds, find the Dallas Mavericks, and see how many boards they're giving up per game to opposing centers. We got to go all the way down to the bottom of the list here, guys. In the last 7 games, they are giving up the second fewest rebounds per game to opposing centers at just 11.4 rebounds per game. It doesn't get much more difficult for Karl Anthony Towns and his rebounds than this. So, this could be another option to go under today. Let's go ahead and pull up a projection for Towns. I've got him going for 10.3. That puts him under 10.5. Listen, if you're getting him at 11.5 rebounds today out on your favorite sports book, you got to hit the under on this one. Okay? So if you have sportsbook access, definitely bet the under on 11.5 boards on Karl Anthony Towns today. We're getting him at 10.5 though. 10.5 on PrizePicks. So things get a little bit more dicey, a little bit more difficult. But listen, I'm going to have to ride with the 10-game averages, the 5-game hit rates, and say that going under on Karl Anthony Towns in a very difficult matchup here, what looks like a difficult matchup, might be the way to go. All right. So that's probably my favorite look at a under option for you in terms of rebounds. So we talked points. We talked rebounds. Now let's talk about some assists. We'll start things off with guys with a high assist rate. And we got to start by talking Josh Hart of the New Orleans Pelicans, because at 4.5 assists in his last 10 games, 70% hit rate. He's gone over this number in 7 out of 10 games. And if you look at his last 5 games, things have looked good for Josh Hart as well. He's gone over in 4 out of his last 5. That's an 80% hit rate. In his last 5 games, he's also averaging 6 assists per game. So things looking very nice here for Josh Hart. He's going up against a Portland Trail Blazers team that we're not really fading guys against. We're not really afraid of the Portland Trail Blazers. This game should be pretty high scoring, should stay pretty competitive with all of the injuries on the Portland side of things. So I think this could be a decent little way to go here on Josh Hart. So let's go back up here. We'll look at the shooting guard position. I don't really know where you put Josh Hart. Him and Devontae Graham kind of interchangeable. They both are like that point guard / shooting guard, combo guard role for the New Orleans Pelicans. So if we look at the assist category, we go down, we find the Portland Trail Blazers in this list. 3.5 assists allowed per game to shooting guards. All right, so that's pretty low. They're one of the tougher teams, one of the stingier teams when it comes to the assist category. If we go back down here and look at point guards, they're giving up 7.6. Again, Portland down toward the bottom of this list, meaning this matchup could be difficult. But look, we don't need a ton of assists. We need just 5 dimes out of this guy tonight. So let's pull up a projection here using Action Labs, and we'll see if Josh Hart has what it takes to potentially clear 4.5 assists again. Now I've got him projected for 3.9. Even if we wanted to be generous and round up and call this 4 assists, that wouldn't be enough for him to go over 4.5. That would put him short by 1 dime. At 4.5 assists, he's a betting favorite to go under 4.5 at -120. So he's got the high hit rates in the last 10 games. 70% hit rate in his last 10. 80% hit rate in his last 5. Do you think he gets it done tonight against Portland? The matchup, in terms of how many assists Portland's given up to the point guard / shooting guard position, doesn't look great. Doesn't look great. And so far, what we're seeing on the projections, what we're seeing on the various sports books, looks a little difficult. I'm not saying he can't do it. He could absolutely do it. I'm just saying not everything's looking like rainbows and unicorns for this player prop. All right. Another guy to consider with a pretty high hit rate in his last 10 games, Julius Randle at 5.5 assists. Now, typically when I play Julius Randle's props, I'm taking rebounds, I'm taking points, maybe some fantasy points. I don't really ever look his way for assists, but maybe we should change that narrative, because at 5.5 assists in his last 10 games, he's covered in 7 out of 10. That's a 70% hit rate. Now we look at his last 5 games, that hit rate drops just a little bit to 60%. But at 5.5, he's averaging 5.6, putting him slightly over the 5.5 line today. He's got 2 games in a row now where he's dropped 6 and 7 assists respectively, putting him over the 5.5 number. He's facing off against the Detroit Pistons. So let's take a look at this matchup here. Randall plays power forward for the most part. Sometimes he fills in at center when the Knicks go a little small ball. So they'll kick Nerlens Noel out, they'll kick Mitchell Robinson out, and then they'll slide Julius Randle over to that center position at times. But we'll start things off and look at power forwards and the assists allowed by the Detroit Pistons to opposing power forwards. Now look, they're giving up the fourth most assists to the power forward position in the last 7 games, giving up over 5.8 dimes. All right, so pretty good matchup here. 4th most to the power forward position. Let's look at the center position and see how many assists they give up to opposing centers, because like I mentioned, Randall will sometimes fill in at the center position for this New York Knicks team. Now, they're a lot more stingy against opposing centers, giving up just 2.2 assists there. So let's hope that Julius Randle plays more power forward and less center tonight. So we'll head on over to Action Labs. We'll pull up Randall's assist prop for you. I've got him projected for 5.7, guys. That puts him over 5.5 by 0.2, which is enough for us to feel comfortable potentially going over here at 5.5. I'm also seeing some good money coming in on the over at -135. So I think this is an option worth considering. Great matchup. The Pistons are allowing a pretty decent amount of assists per game to opposing power forwards. We're seeing projections that favor the over. We're seeing money coming in on the over. So I don't know. Looks like a decent way to go here. Other options worth considering. I don't know that I like any other overs here. Maybe we look at Russell Westbrook. No Anthony Davis tonight for the Lakers. He's already been ruled out. Russ at 6.5 assists in his last 10 games. 70% hit rate there. 60% in his last 5, averaging 6.4 assists per game. So we'll have to run like a court IQ report. See, does Russell Westbrook's assists go up or do they go down with Anthony Davis out of the lineup? There's going to be a lot of people out for the Los Angeles Lakers tonight. They're going to have to really lean on Russell Westbrook and company, his company being LeBron James, maybe some Carmelo Anthony. We're going to have to lean on those guys. The Lakers will too, in order to get this job done here against a tough Phoenix Suns squad. So let's go look at this matchup for Russ tonight. We'll go to the point guard position. We'll go find Phoenix and see how many assists per game that they're giving up in the last 7 to opposing PGs. And they're giving up about 7.9. Let's just call it 7.9, nearly 8 assists per game to opposing point guards. Now, that's not to say that Russell Westbrook will see all 8 of those assists. There's other point guards on the team for the Lakers, right? But I would call Russ an above average point guard. So despite the matchup or despite the averages, I think this is a game where maybe Russ can get it done. What do you guys think? We liking some Russ over assists? I don't know. No Anthony Davis. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the projections here for Russell Westbrook. Let's see what Action Labs has to say. Well, we don't have a projection just yet. Let's refresh. Maybe they've added it in. Sometimes we just have to refresh. Boom, there we go. Got him projected for 11.3 assists. Is this right? 11.3 assists versus 6.5 over on PrizePicks. Guys, that's nearly 5 assists different. That's a pretty big edge. That's a pretty big difference. 11.3 assists versus 6.5 assists. It's worth considering, I would say, with the projections being so high for Russell Westbrook. At 7.5 assists, which is where you're going to find him on most sportsbook, he is a betting favorite at -135 to go under 7.5 assists. I don't call anything a lock here, but when you see a projection at 11.3, he's at 6.5, kind of makes your eyes get big. Kind of makes you sit up in your seat and pay attention, right? There you go. Just worth considering, all right? It's worth considering. Looking at some options for unders. We've talked a few different overplays. Let's look at some of the guys who are not assisting at a very high rate here. One of the guys is Devontae Graham at 4.5 assists. In his last 10 games, just a 30% hit rate. 30%, not getting it done in his last 10 games. If we look at the last 5 games, 40% hit rate. averaging 4.6 assists, though, which puts him over 4.5. So his averages are actually more than where his line is today. Looking at the last 5 games here, the only games where he's went over 4.5 assists, Oklahoma City, he had 8 big dimes there, and Denver, he had 5. Okay, so just 2 games where he's went over in his last 5. Let's go ahead and look at this matchup here. Again, Graham and Hart. We've already talked about in terms of this matchup for point guards, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, I think. Let's just look at it again. Portland, yeah, they're giving up actually 7.6 assists once again to point guards. If Graham is more that shooting guard tonight, then we know Portland's giving up just 3.5 assists to opposing shooting guards. So I don't know how you guys look at Josh Hart and Devontae Graham. Who's the point guard? Who's the shooting guard? I think they're kind of both positionless. I think they're both just guards, just general combo guards, not really pigeonholed into playing point or shooting guard, but could be a difficult matchup here for Devontae Graham. He's a guy who has not been getting it done. It's been Josh Hart racking up all the dimes here for the New Orleans Pelicans. Nonetheless, got him projected for 5.5 assists. That puts him over 4.5, but even at 4.5 out on DK Sportsbook, betting favorite to go under. -120 under 4.5 assists. So that's an option for you to potentially go under on. Another guy who has not been doing a great job at assisting, Devin Booker. He's at 4.5 dimes out on your favorite sportsbook, but he's at 4 assists over on PrizePicks. Now at 4.5 assists, just a 30% hit rate. At 4 assists, still probably think about going on the under here. He's gone for 4 or more assists in just 2 games out of his last 5. So that's like a 40% hit rate technically. But you see his averages, just 3.2 assists per game in his last 5 games. So Devin Booker facing off against the Los Angeles Lakers. Book, definitely a shooting guard for the Phoenix Suns. No question there. We'll go look at the Lakers. They're giving up about 5.8 assists per game. 5.8 assists per game to opposing shooting guards. So this would be a plus matchup here in terms of assists allowed to shooting guards for Devin Booker. Lakers giving up the 3rd most assists per game in that span, 7-game span. Let's pull up a projection for Booker. I got him at 4 assists, which puts him right in line with where he's at on PrizePicks. Out on your favorite sportsbook, he is at 3.5 assists. I'm seeing him at 3.5 at this moment out on DraftKings. He's a -160 betting favorite to go over 3.5. But I'm also seeing him at 4.5 on other books. So he's 3.5 to 4.5. And we're seeing him right in the middle here at 4 on PrizePicks. So not a high hit rate, but a very good matchup, as the Lakers are giving up a ton of assists to opposing shooting guards. I appreciate everybody who's watching. Don't get hypnotized by my beauty and forget to hit that like button. Take an opportunity, go ahead, slap that like button now. If any of these player prop research, if any of it's giving you any kind of value, hit the like button. Help your boy out. I'm trying to keep this thing going. I want this forever, man. Forever, man. All right, that was a terrible Drake impression. Moving on to the 3-point makes. But I do really want this forever. I want to keep doing this stuff for you guys. I don't ever want to go back to a corporate 9 to 5. I'd rather be here talking to you guys about sports, player props, sports betting. I want to do this for as long as I possibly can. You hitting the like button, you subscribing, you supporting what I do keeps me fueled up and going. All right. So Cade Cunningham at 2.5 3-point makes. He's the one that's jumping off the page for me. His last 10 games, 60% hit rate. And my, oh my, he's coming off of a bad game. And you know I like when a guy is coming off of a bad game. He had 0 3-point makes against the Miami Heat. Could this be a bounce back spot for Cade Cunningham versus the New York Knicks tonight? It very well could be. He's at 2.5. Seems a little bit steep. I would love it more if it was like 1.5 3-point makes. But we've seen some upside here from Cade Cunningham. 3 3-point makes against Houston. 5 3-point makes against Brooklyn. But it's been one of these props where it's been kind of up and down, up and down. A little bit dicey here for Cade Cunningham. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and look at this matchup here. Cade Cunningham, kind of that point guard, shooting guard type of role here for the Detroit Pistons. Let's go see how many threes per game they're giving up to point guards. The New York Knicks doing a very good job at limiting opposing point guards and their 3-point makes. Just 1.5 3-point makes allowed in the last 7 games to point guards. Guys, that is the first worst, or they're allowing the first fewest. There you go. Maybe that makes more sense. They're number 1 at defending 3-point makes and point guards, all right? Just 1.5 3-point makes allowed. Now, if you want to call Cade Cunningham a shooting guard, well, okay, that's fair. Maybe things get a little bit better here. They do, in fact. If you think Cade Cunningham is more that shooting guard and maybe Killian Hayes is more that point guard, well, New York's given up over 4 3-point makes in the last 7 games to shooting guards. So that puts them in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th most. They're giving up the 6th most threes to opposing shooting guards in the last 7 games. All right, so it kind of depends on what you classify Cade Cunningham as. Let's go to the 3-point makes here. We'll type in Cade's name. I've got him projected for 2.1 3-point makes, and at 2.5 out on your favorite sports book, minus 135 betting favorite to go under. So I don't know that I love Cade Cunningham's 3-point makes as much as I do his points, but you got to figure if we're liking the points, he could be good for a couple threes. I just don't know if he's good for 3 threes in this matchup, but who knows? I mean, crazier things have happened. We know the Knicks are all beat up. They're playing with a very different looking roster, different rotation. You never know. Could be a soft matchup here for Cade Cunningham. All right. Let's take a look here. Other 3-point props standing out. We got Julius Randle. He's not up on the PrizePicks board. Tim Hardaway Jr. Oh, man, he's at 3.5 3-point makes. Yikes. 3.5 3-point makes for Julius Randle. Or for Tim Hardaway Jr., rather. Dude's been on fire the last 3 games. 5, 4, and 4. 5, 4, and 4. Do I love this? I don't know if I love it. I have trust issues when it comes to Tim Hardaway Jr., folks. There's times where I love him. There's times where I absolutely loathe him. And we know that the Dallas Mavericks are going to be missing a lot of players today. Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably going to have the green light to shoot and shoot often. So Tim Hardaway Jr. in his last 10 games, it's been a 50% hit rate for him. Now in his last 5 games, and especially his last 3 games, things have gotten a lot better. 60% hit rate in the last 5, and in his last 3, he is a 100% hit rate. So he's going up against Minnesota tonight. He's probably going to be letting it fly here. They're going to have Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting as much as he humanly can. All right, so let's look at this matchup. He's kind of the shooting guard. Consider Dorian Finney-Smith more of the small forward. If we look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, they are giving up the first most 3-point makes per game to opposing shooting guards. Over 5 3-point makes allowed per game to opposing shooting guards. So this is definitely as good of a matchup as you could possibly ask for Tim Hardaway Jr. THJ. Plus matchup here. Let's look at the small forward position and see how many threes they give up. Again, man, 4.5 3-point makes. The Timberwolves are giving up some 3-point makes, y'all. This looks like a good matchup here for Tim Hardaway Jr. All right, let's go pull up a projection. We love the matchup. There's no doubt about that. The matchup's looking good. Maybe I can get over my fears here with Tim Hardaway Jr. I got him projected for 3.8 3-point makes. Now at 3.5 3-point makes, I'm seeing him as a betting favorite under at minus 125. So the money's coming in on the under. The projection's coming in on the over. He's gone 3 out of his last 3, dropping 4 and 5 3-point makes respectively. And Minnesota's giving up the first most 3-point makes per game to shooting guards. And they're giving up the third most 3-point makes to small forwards. So wherever you put Tim Hardaway Jr., shooting guard, small forward, he's going to get some 3-point makes today. It's just a question of, will he get 4 3-point makes? We'll have to wait and see. Tim Hardaway Jr., though, looking very, very good. Looking very good here. Great matchup. You can't ask for a better matchup, quite frankly. All right, so those are your options for guys to go over on. Let's look at some of the guys that maybe you want to go under on. Dudes who are not hitting their 3-point prop with a high success rate. Jalen Brunson at 1.5 3-point makes. Again, be careful. All right, we know Minnesota's given up a bunch of threes. They're giving up a bunch of threes to shooting guards and small forwards. Brunson's going to be the de facto point guard for Dallas tonight. Let's see if Minnesota's giving up a bunch of threes to the point guard position as well. Not quite as many at 2.96. Let's call it 3. We'll say 3-point makes in the last 7 games to point guards. So they're a little bit further down the list. Definitely more of a better matchup for guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith tonight. But even at 3-point makes allowed by the T-Wolves, Brunson could find himself knocking down 2 or more threes. He's knocked down 2 or more in 2 straight games as well. 2 against the Lakers, 2 in the previous matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves. All right. So he knocked down 2 against the T-Wolves in their last game. THJ, he knocked down 4 in the previous matchup against the T-Wolves. So both of these guys actually covered today's prop in the last meeting against Minnesota. Let's pull up a projection here for Jalen Brunson. He's got the low hit rate, but again, that is deceiving because most of the time this guy does not start. It's Luka Doncic in there. I got him projected for 1.6 3-point makes, and he's a betting favorite to go under 1.5 3-point makes at -115. But I think both guys are in very good spot tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, Tim Hardaway Jr. probably in the better spot out of the two. So don't be fooled by the low hit rates on Jalen Brunson. He's got a good shot of going over his 3-point makes tonight. All right. We've overcome all the technical difficulties to start the stream. I was here talking to myself. A lot of you were wondering where I was. Well, I was right here. I had already began breaking down the slate and everything. I read through some comments in the chat. I was saying what's up to everybody. And here I was talking to my damn self the whole time. High Flyer 89 says, "Yo, Curry, thanks for everything you do." High Flyer, thank you for watching. If I didn't have anybody watching these live streams, I couldn't do what I'm doing. It's because of you watching. It's because of you subscribing. It's because of you liking these live streams and these replays that I'm able to continue doing what I do. So keep showing your love for me. Keep showing your support for me. And I will keep showing up and helping you folks out. Appreciate you. Time to kick it on over to the chat. If you have questions, I'm not going to scroll all the way back to the beginning of the chat and look for your favorite picks. Drop those picks now. Let's do a little lightning round. I'll go over your favorite picks, your favorite props, and we'll do a little quick research on those, and then we will get you up out of here and let you go lock in some entries. All right. What's up to you, Jaddy A? Thanks for joining me this morning. What's the final locks, guys? Antonio, listen, we don't use the L word around here, my man. That L word being locks. We know that nothing is ever a lock. You know when it is a lock? I'll tell you when it's a lock. When that money hits your bank account. It's not even a lock when the money's in your PrizePicks account. Because I've had winning entries be refunded, or I've had winning entries turn into losing entries because of stat corrections when it already paid out and said that I won. So it's never really a lock until that money reaches your bank account. When that money's in your bank account, that's about as sure of a lock as it gets, if that makes sense. Nothing is ever a lock. Joey Strange says, "Curry is the J God of NBA stats, no cap." Listen, Joey, you know, because we've talked a lot. I love J God. He's a Call of Duty content creator. I want to be the J God of NBA player props and stats. I love that. I take that compliment, my friend. All right, let's see what you guys are talking about here. Karis LeVert over on his 3-point makes. We trust this guy. We trust Karis LeVert. Let's take a look at it. He's facing off against the Miami Heat at 1.5 3-point makes, guys. He's gone over in 3 out of 5. That's a 60% hit rate. 60% hit rate. Not bad. Averaging 2 3-point makes per game in that 5-game span. Let's head over to Action Labs and we'll pull up a projection for you on Karis LeVert. I got him projected for 1.8 3-point makes against this Miami Heat team. And at minus 120 to go over 1.5 3-point makes. But look at the game logs. I mean, it's been up or down here. But he is coming off of a game where he made 0 3-point makes. And you know I look for those bounce back spots. This could be a bounce back spot for Karis LeVert. He's kind of a, shooting guard. We'll say Brogdon's more the point guard for the Pacers. If we look at this matchup, Miami is giving up a pretty generous amount of three-point makes per game in the last 7 games. 3.3 three-point makes allowed. So I think there's an opportunity here for Karis LeVert to bounce back. This spot, not the worst. You could do worse. I think that's an option for you. Quincy Kelly saying Alec Burks under. There's a lot of different ways we could interpret that. Under what? Under points, fantasy points, 3-point makes, some other stat. You got to be a little bit more specific, and I'll look into that play for you on Alec Burks. Royster saying check Saddiq Bey's points, please. Listen, Saddiq Bey has been balling. There's no two ways about it. Ever since Jeremy Grant exited the lineup for the Detroit Pistons, Saddiq Bey, Cade Cunningham, and company have been playing a lot better. Saddiq Bey, 3 games in a row now, 28, 23, 26 points. The dude, like I said, has been hooping without Jeremy Grant around. And I'm thinking that maybe his lines just aren't keeping pace with the amount of points that he's scoring each night. 15.5 seems a little bit too low for a guy who's dropped 28, 23, and 26 in his last 3 games. So let's take a look at this. Saddiq Bey kind of fills in that power forward role, I would say, more without Jeremy Grant there. What do you guys think? Fair to say Saddiq Bey kind of a small forward / power forward sometimes? It's kind of a team effort, you know. They don't really have a true power forward in there. But he's facing off against the New York Knicks. Knicks are giving up over 27 points per game to opposing power forwards. So if Saddiq Bey does spend some time at the power forward position, this looks like a very good matchup. Let's look at the small forward position here. New York Knicks, points allowed per game in the last 7 games to the small forward position. Where is he at? 19.5. So a little harder, a little more difficult matchup here for him, if you consider him to be more of a small forward. Let's pull up a projection for you on Saddiq Bey's points, because he has been on an absolute heater in the last 3 games. I got him projected for 16.4 points tonight, which would put him over 15.5, and we're seeing him out on 2 different books at 16.5. One site, people are taking the under. Another site, people are taking the over. But for me, I'd have to lean toward the over here. We're getting 1 point of value on PrizePicks at 15.5 instead of 16.5. We got 3 straight games where this dude has dropped 20 or more points. Crushing today's line of 15.5 points. And he's facing a New York Knicks squad that's beat up. Who's going to guard him? I don't know. RJ Barrett's not going to be in there, I can tell you that much. Their best perimeter defender. This could be a spot here where Saddiq Bey feasts. Antonio, you're talking about some Alec Burks under rebounds. Alec Burks under rebounds. Somebody's going to have to rebound the basketball for this New York Knicks team. We know most of the boards go to Julius Randle. We know Nerlens Noel will get his sticky little fingers on some rebounds. He's a pretty decent rebounder. But you're like an Alec Burks under rebounds. Now, in the last couple of games, with the Knicks playing with a shortened rotation due to injuries, due to COVID or whatever's going on, they got a lot of guys out of their normal roster, their normal rotation. Alec Burks has actually covered this prop in 2 straight games, 9 against Houston, 6 against Boston. So I'd be careful with clicking the under on Alec Burks. He's been shown to have 9 rebound upside. All right. Let's look at this matchup real quick. He's kind of the shooting guard / small forward for the New York Knicks. We'll go to the rebounds, see how many rebounds per game the Pistons are giving up here. They're giving up the 4th most rebounds per game to the shooting guard spot in the last 7 games. 7.3 rebounds per game to be exact. 4th most. All right. So like I said, you're playing with fire here, taking the under 5.5 rebounds on Alec Burks. This is a plus rebound matchup for him. Let's just, for argument's sake, say that he is a small forward, right? Look at how many rebounds Detroit's given up to small forwards. 8.9, nearly 9 rebounds per game. If anything, this is a plus rebound matchup, a very good one for Alec Burks at that shooting guard / small forward position for the Knicks. They're going to have less players out there. They're going to probably run the guys that they trust, like Alec Burks, Julius Randle, and so forth, more minutes tonight. They're probably going to get more run tonight. And this is a very good plus rebound matchup when we look at the last 7 games against the Detroit Pistons. So I'm saying be careful taking the under on Alec Burks here. I've got him projected for 6 boards, guys. And at 5.5, he's a betting favorite to go under. That's where the money's coming in, but maybe that money is dumb money. Maybe that's donkey money coming in on the under at 5.5 boards. All right? I'm just saying. Dude has cleared 5.5 rebounds in 2 straight games with the Knicks playing with a lot of their players are out of the lineup, out of the rotation. Alec Burks is going to have plenty of opportunities here in a very friendly rebound spot. Don't do it, Antonio. You're playing with fire. You're playing with fire. If anything, fade the prop. I wouldn't take the under, though. Looking like too good of a matchup, in my opinion. Tony's saying LeBron James points. Let's take a look at LeBron James points. We'll try to move this along a little bit quicker here. LeBron is going to get more shots up. Probably going to score more points without Anthony Davis around. We look at his last 5 games. He's averaging 27.2 points per game. That's more than 26.5. 60% hit rate in the last 5 for LeBron James. All right. We'll go look at the matchup here against Phoenix. See how many points per game Phoenix is giving up to small forwards. Will it be the Mikal Jail? Will it be Jay Crowder getting all up in LeBron's jersey tonight? Maybe. They're giving up about 20 points per game in their last 7 games to small forwards. All right. Let's go take a look at the projections here on LeBron James. LeBron James. We got him projected at 26.9 projected points. So almost 27 points, let's call it. And we're seeing him at 26.5 and 27.5 on your various sports books, respectively. So there's a chance here that he winds up right around 27 points based on where these lines are set on your favorite sports book. Kind of a difficult matchup, though, against Phoenix. I think we've seen LeBron struggle against Phoenix in the past. Dre be vibing. Curry be vibing too, Dre. You ain't the only one vibing around here. You ain't the only one vibing around here. Let's take a look and see DeAndre Ayton's fantasy points. DeAndre Ayton's fantasy points. That's the prop you're liking, huh? We got him at 35 fantasy points today. It's been kind of an up and down ride here for DeAndre Ayton his last 5 games. But he is averaging 38.4 fantasy points in his last 5 games, putting him over 35 by 3.4 fantasy points. He's facing off against a Lakers squad that will be without Anthony Davis. I don't know how the rest of their big men will do tonight. I don't know if Dwight Howard's in or out. I think he was also a game time decision. Otherwise, they've got who? DeAndre Jordan? Could be a battle of the DeAndres tonight. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be something fun? Let's go see how many fantasy points per game in the last 7 games that the Lakers are giving up to opposing centers. Where are they at? Where are they at? Dang, they're kind of toward the bottom. They're giving up 48.7 fantasy points per game. So that's starting to get into like difficult matchup territory. Maybe there's a little bit of upside here for DeAndre Ayton versus the Los Angeles Lakers. You know what's cool? Let me pull something up here for you guys. I'm going to show you something. StatMuse is cool. You go DeAndre Ayton FanDuel points versus Lakers game logs. I think that'll get us where we want. So you put in a search query, something like that, right? And then you could kind of look and see how DeAndre Ayton has done in his last however many games versus the Los Angeles Lakers in terms of fantasy points. I say FanDuel points and PrizePicks points, exactly the same. So you can see in the last game against the Lakers, which was on October 22nd, he put in 38 fantasy points. It's been up and down, right? Over, under, over, under, over, over, under, over. Could go either way, I think, tonight. For me, probably going to be a fade on DeAndre Ayton. But let's go ahead and pull you up a projection on DeAndre Ayton and those fantasy points. I got him going for 37.4 fantasy points. With Devin Booker back, I don't love Ayton quite as much. I liked him better without Booker around. He's getting a lot more touches and things like that. That's been kind of dicey, for DeAndre Ayton versus the Lakers over the course of his young career. So Kush, we talked about Levert over threes. Could be a good look. Quincy, you're saying take the under on Alec Burks threes? The under on Alec Burks threes? Ooh, let's go take a look. As I mentioned, Knicks playing with a much different rotation. I think they're going to be relying on guys like Alec Burks and company a bit more than they have in the past. Burks, however, at 2.5 3-point makes his last 5 games, has only covered once, and it was in his last game against Boston where he made 3 triples. He's averaging 1.2 3-point makes in that span. So let's go look at the shooting guard position. We'll head over to the Detroit Pistons, see how many threes they're giving up per game. They're actually kind of stingy. They're giving up 1.5. 1.5 3-point makes to shooting guards. If you consider him to be a small forward, they're giving up 3.8 3-point makes to small forwards. So things get a lot better at the small forward position versus the shooting guard position when it comes to 3-point makes. Just kind of depends on what you consider Burks to be. Now, I got it projected for 2.9 3-point makes versus Detroit tonight. But the action is even, meaning we're not seeing any over money or under money on Alec Burks. So hopefully that helps you out. Jimmy, you're liking some Jalen Brunson fantasy points. Let's take a look at those. Oh, wow. Didn't even see this. We got a super chat that came in from Nick. Nick, you gotta chill out with these super chats. I mean, not really, but I'm saying you're too kind. You're too giving. You're liking Brandon Ingram over on fantasy points, D'Angelo Russell under on fantasy points, and you needed an opinion on Nerlens Noel at 4.5 points. Well, since you were so nice to me and left me this wonderful, lovely super chat, thank you again, Nick, for that. Let's take a look at Brandon Ingram's fantasy points for you real quick. BI, 41.5 fantasy points. Seems kind of rich just at first glance. But he's gone for 41.5 or more fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. So that's actually an 80% hit rate, technically. And in that span, he's averaging 45 fantasy points. Okay, so things are looking pretty good here for Brandon Ingram lately. He's going up against Portland tonight. Let's go take a look. He is a small forward. We could go see how many fantasy points per game Portland's giving up to the small forward position. And this is a plus matchup for Ingram. 46. God bless me and God bless everybody who's watching. 46.1 fantasy points allowed to opposing small forwards by the Portland Trailblazers. So this is a plus matchup for sure for Brandon Ingram. I like what I'm seeing so far. Let's do what we did for DeAndre Ayton. We'll do Brandon Ingram FanDuel points versus Blazers game logs. See if we get any results here. There we go. So we'll just look at the ones from his time with the New Orleans Pelicans. And he's at 41.5. So he's gone over in 2 out of 6. And he hasn't gone over 41.5 fantasy points versus Portland since late 2019. So the last 4 games, he's actually went under. Now, I'm sure a lot of those games were with Zion in the lineup. Obviously, different dynamic now for Ingram in the in the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Trailblazers tonight. But the matchup is looking good here for Brandon Ingram. Let's pull up a projection, though. I got him projected for 43.7. 43.7 fantasy points obviously puts him over 41.5. So according to the FanDuel projections provided by Fantasy Labs, they like Brandon Ingram to go over 41.5 fantasy points, but he hasn't gone over in 4 straight meetings against this Portland Trailblazers squad. You're also liking some D'Angelo Russell under fantasy points. He's at 38 today. 38. He has gone under in 4 straight games. Just a 20% hit rate in his last 5, 34.4 fantasy points per game in that span. He's facing off against a Luka-less Dallas Mavericks squad. No Luka tonight. So D'Angelo Russell, obviously the point guard for Minnesota. Let's see how many fantasy points per game Dallas is giving up 43.6. So that's still quite a few fantasy points. I'd imagine that this number goes up a little bit, especially without Luka in there. It'll be D'Angelo Russell versus Jalen Brunson. So I would think that this 43.6 fantasy points allowed by Dallas 2 point guards in the last 7 games would go up a little bit. Let's just see how D'Angelo Russell has done. And again, StatMuse, totally free. You can check this out if you want to do some of these searches on your own. D'Angelo Russell, FanDuel points, we'll call it, versus Mavericks game logs. All right. So since he has joined the Minnesota Timberwolves, he has gone over 38 fantasy points in 1, 2, 3 out of his last 5 games. 3 out of 5, 60% hit rate. All right. Now, last but not least, let's pull up a projection on D'Angelo Russell. Kind of get an idea of the matchup. You've seen how he's done historically as a member of the T-Wolves versus the Mavericks in terms of covering his fantasy point prop of 38. And I've got D'Angelo Russell going for about 41. We'll call it 41 fantasy points. He's at 40.9. So they like him to go over. He's shown a good hit rate in the last 5 games, 60% versus this Dallas Mavericks squad. We know that no Luka will make things easier for D'Angelo Russell as well. And last but not least, you also asked about Nerlens Noel. Thank you for the super chat once again, Nick. I'm able to kind of focus in on your question and everything because you left that super chat and it's nice and highlighted. And, you know, that's the number one way to make sure that your question gets answered. So you'd like Nerlens Noel's points, or maybe you just want an opinion over or under on Nerlens Noel at 4.5 points. It's ugly. That's my first opinion on it. At 4.5 points, he's gone under in 4 straight games. Covered this once. So that's a 20% hit rate. He's averaging 2.6 points per game in that span. Don't know that I love this here. I mean, but I can see where it could be somewhat intriguing, perhaps, potentially. He's facing off against Detroit. Pistons giving up about 19.5 points per game to opposing centers. So some serious upside here for a guy who's at just 4.5 points, but he's going to have to catch a couple lobs, get an offensive rebound, put it back. Maybe he gets fouled in one play. He's not getting a ton of shots up is what I'm trying to tell you. But I think you kind of know that, right? You know what you're getting into with this prop on Nerlens Noel. Let's go ahead and pull up a points projection on Noel tonight. Got him projected for 4.9. Seeing most books taking the over on him at -125 and -130 respectively. So there you go. Do I want to go there? Probably not for me. That's probably not the prop for me. All right. Let's take a few more here and then I will get you guys up out of here. All right. We're kind of falling behind here. We got a whole bunch of questions. You guys are dropping lots of good ones here. Let's see what you're liking though. LeBron points and Ayton rebounds. So we already talked about LeBron points. Let's look at DeAndre Ayton's rebounds real quick for Tony. Mr. Anthony Ruiz. See how I roll that R? Boy, I've been practicing. Sleep on me if you want to. DeAndre Ayton's rebounds, 11.5 boards. He's only covered this prop in 2 out of his last 5 games. He's averaging 10.6 rebounds in that span. All right, let's look at this matchup here for Ayton. We talked about his fantasy points. Not loving the fantasy points, but maybe the rebounds are a good way to go if you're wanting to play some DeAndre Ayton against the Lakers. Lakers are giving up about 15.6 rebounds per game to the center position. So there's some ceiling here, some upside here for DeAndre Ayton to go past 11.5 boards. He needs 12 or more, obviously. Let's go ahead and pull up his projection for you. He's at 11.8 projected boards, but he's at 11.5 on PrizePicks, meaning that's 1 rebound higher than where you're going to find him on most of the books out there. He's at 10.5 on all the books. At 10.5, lots of money coming in on the over, -135, -140, over 10.5. So 11.5, a little bit more tricky, but the projections are seeming to suggest that they could see it happening, that he could get it done. And obviously, no Anthony Davis in that lineup. Man, Nick, you're making it rain today, brother. I appreciate you, Nick. Thank you for the super chats. I think that's like 3 super chats in one stream. Dude, you're the MVP. You're my MVP. I'm taking the over on Nick today just because he's been so awesome. Appreciate that, Nick. So hopefully that answers your question, Tony. Not seeing any value in that prop. Can it happen? Yeah, maybe Ayton does get over 10 or 11.5 rebounds, but PrizePicks has him jacked up versus where you're going to find him on most sports books. Social No Media is liking some Dorian Finney-Smith over fantasy points. Dorian Finney-Smith over on fantasy points. Let's go find him here. He's at 26. He's facing off against Minnesota tonight. He's covered this in 2 out of 3 games, averaging just over 26 fantasy points in the last 5 games, 26.4. Let's look at the matchup real quick. Facing off against Minnesota, we could go see how many fantasy points Minnesota's given up per game. It is a plus matchup for Dorian Finney-Smith against Minnesota. They're giving up 46.5 fantasy points per game in the last 7 games to small forward. So definitely some ceiling here, some upside. As long as this game stays close and competitive, goes 4 quarters, then taking the over on Dorian Finney-Smith looks like a decent option so far. Let's go ahead, pull up a projection. I got him going for 26.1 fantasy points. So PrizePicks has a pretty decent number up at exactly 26 fantasy points. Not seeing a huge edge, but I do like this matchup. It is a plus fantasy point matchup for Dorian Finney-Smith. Denzel, you're liking a lot here, my friend. Let's see. Westbrook's points, Turner under rebounds, Alec Burks under fantasy points, Malik Beasley under 4.5 rebounds if it came up, and Ayton points. That's a lot. I'm not going to take all of those. I'd like to get to some other folks' question, but I think that Russell Westbrook will probably be a pretty popular play with Anthony Davis being out. We haven't talked about his points yet. At 19.5 versus Phoenix, he's covered in 2 games. Came really close against Orlando. He dropped 19 points there, but close is not going to cut it here. He's going to have to either go for 20 points or it's an absolute fail. So he's got a 40% hit rate in his last 5 games, averaging less than 17 points per game in that span. Going over to the point guard position, we'll look at how many points the Phoenix Suns are giving up to opposing point guards. And they're pretty tough, y'all. They are pretty tough. We know, obviously, Chris Paul kind of leading the way there in terms of their defense. They're giving up 24.6 points. So there'll be some upside here, a little bit of upside for Russell Westbrook in this matchup. No Anthony Davis, obviously the big news there. Let's go ahead and pull up a points projection for you using Action Labs. I got Westbrook projected at 22 points. The highlight for me was probably his assists, though, because I had him projected for over 11 assists, and I think he was at 6.5 on PrizePicks today. But at 19.5 points, 3 different books, not seeing any action coming in on Westbrook's points just yet. Yeah, Jaddy, we talked about Saddiq Bey's points already. He's been on a 3-game tear lately, so I don't mind you taking the over on some Saddiq Bey points. Since Jeremy Grant's been out of the lineup, Saddiq Bey's been balling, hooping, and he's got a good matchup tonight. David's liking some Joval rebounds and Stewart rebounds. We talked a little bit about Stewart, so we don't have to go back and talk about him, but we'll look at Jonas Valanciunas. He's going up against Portland. It'll be a battle of the European bigs. Valanciunas versus Nurkic, right? I believe Nurkic should be playing. I don't see him up on the board at the moment, but hopefully Nurkic is in there. In the last 5 games, Jonas Valanciunas has went over 10.5 boards in 80% of those games, 11.4 rebounds per game in that span. Let's go see how many rebounds Portland's been giving up here lately to opposing bigs. We got to go down a ways. They're actually only giving up about 13.3, so this is a tough matchup for Valanciunas. He's at 10.5. This matchup, 13.3. I'll pull up a projection for you. We'll keep it moving. Try to take a few more of your questions. I got Valanciunas projected for 13.8 rebounds. Seems a little bit high, a little bit unrealistic, unless like Nurkic is out, but I don't have any reason to believe he's out. But You know how I like those props. One's coming off of a flop. Fired up. Fired up. And he's at 11.5 rebounds on most of the sports books out there. So we are getting a 1 rebound value here on PrizePicks. So maybe you go ahead and hit the over. I wouldn't go super crazy on this, though, because the matchup against Nurkic does look like a tough one. Yeah, Royster, we talked Sadiq Bey's points. We looked at Ayton's rebounds, so we covered those. Sabonis assist and LeVert points, and then I'm done. Don't know that I love LeVert for points. Like maybe, I guess. We talked about his 3-point makes. He could be in line for a good night from beyond the arc, but I don't know that I trust Karis LeVert as a 3-point maker. Sabonis assist at 4.5. This could be a good one, though. Let's talk about this one. We'll choose this one over LeVert's points. Sabonis, 4.5 assists. He's gone over 4.5 in 4 out of 5 games. So an 80% hit rate here lately for Domantas Sabonis. Liking what I'm seeing, averaging 4.6 assists in that span. Let's go look at the matchup here. He's a power forward facing off against Miami. The Heat. Not giving up a ton of assists per game to opposing power forwards. 3.7. 3.7. So that's actually under where his line is at 4.5. And then last but not least, I will pull a projection for Sabonis for you. Wow. They got him projected for 6 assists tonight, guys. 6 assists. And we're seeing some major money moves being made here on your favorite sports books. Minus 140, minus 145 to go over 4.5 dimes. There you go. That's not the worst look in the world. Denzel, I think you're onto something there, my friend. Nick says he won $486 yesterday on PrizePicks. He doesn't need locks. He just needs good info. Well, hopefully I'm giving you some of that good info, man. Congrats on the big win. Yeah, we talked about some of these picks already. Ayton's fantasy. Randall and Fournier under points. Antonio? Randall and Fournier under points. Do we want to go under on Julius Randle here? Power forward, 22.5 points per game. Or 22.5 points on PrizePicks, I should say. He's gone over in just 1 out of his last 5 games. But didn't we really like this matchup here against Detroit? Or am I tripping? Well, no. I mean, Detroit. Detroit's kind of tough against power forwards. 18.6 points per game allowed in the last 7 games. But no Jeremy Grant, right? No Jeremy Grant. Maybe he was part of the reason why their defense has been so good against power forwards. Does that change now that he's out of the lineup? Who's going to slow Julius Randle down? That's the real question. Let's quickly pull up a projection for you on Randle. Got him projected for 22.2. And all the money's coming in on the under at 23.5 points, which is why PrizePicks has them up at 22.5 points. They want to make our lives difficult. They want to make our lives as tough as possible. Nothing free, no free squares, unless it's Taco Tuesday. But even those Taco Tuesdays aren't always free. You got to do your research on those too. Ethan, Carmelo Anthony's fantasy points. We're going to buzz through these real quick and get you up out of here. 20.5 fantasy points, has gone over in 60% of his games in the last 5 games. Carmelo kind of comes in, plays a little small forward, a little power forward for the Lakers. Maybe he's in there more at the power forward spot without Anthony Davis around. They're facing off against the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix has given up the 5th most fantasy points per game to power forwards. So maybe Carmelo benefits from that. Maybe he gets a little bit of that love there. Let's pull up a projection on Carmelo Anthony. I got him at 20.1 fantasy points. So PrizePicks has a pretty good number up at 20.5. Maybe they subscribe to Fantasy Labs and that's how they make these projections. So I don't know. Not seeing a great edge there, Ethan. Martin wants to know, who are all the bounce back spots you like? God, listen, I got enough going on here. I can't be keeping notes, taking notes of all those things. I can't even remember, bro, to be honest with you. I wish I could tell you that, like, I remember all that stuff, but I can't even start the stream right some days, like today, where I flubbed it up. Maybe somebody in chat can help you out with that though. But yeah, I can't even call it. Joval was one that we just looked at who was coming off of a bad rebound game. Maybe he bounces back tonight. That's one. Kushlash is liking some Brunson over 7.5 assists. Let's look at that one real quick for you, Kush. Obviously, no Luka Doncic tonight going up against Minnesota. He's covered this prop, has Brunson in 3 straight games, 8, 9, and 11. 3 straight. So he had 11 assists in his last meeting against the T-Wolves. Crushed 7.5 assists in that one. Let's pull up a projection for you. We'll keep things humming right along, buzzing right along. Brunson projected for 6.2 today, but at 7.5 assists. Seeing 2 different books where people are smashing the under on Jalen Brunson. Dylan's liking some Cade Cunningham on points tonight, but maybe not the 3-point makes. I agree with that. I think I like his points better than I like his 3 points. Ingram over on fantasy points tonight. We looked at that one. Thanks to that super chat. Otherwise, I probably would have missed that, Nick. Cat over on assists. Do we want to take Karl Anthony Towns assists tonight? 3.5. 4 straight games he's gone over 3.5 assists. Let's pull up a projection for you. Towns 4.3. So they do like the projections do like him to go over. And he's at a minus 145 on 2 different books. So some pretty good money coming in on the over there. What else do you guys like here? Buzzing through the last few. Keep an eye on those Taco Tuesdays on PrizePicks. Those Taco Tuesdays. Sorry, I'm just looking through these questions here, trying to see what you guys are liking. My dude Isaac, CJ, let me get a referral promo. What does that mean, Royster? I don't know what that means. Yeah, Westbrook's assists look very good. There's a lot of conversation going on here. Sorry, it's just hard for me to kind of weed through all of these. Denzel says, LeVert has 17 points and a half, and then he just stopped scoring. I will just take these last couple here. Let's just take Taco for days. He's liking Karl Anthony Towns under on rebounds. I think we already talked about that one though, but we'll talk about it again. Tough rebound matchup. Dallas has actually done a pretty good job in the last 7 games at holding opposing centers under rebounds. So I think I was liking the under on Karl Anthony Towns here. They took Gabe Vincent off the board. Oh, boo on them. Anyway, we've been going for about an hour and a half. I think there's enough picks here for you guys to land on some winning ones. I'm going to get up out of here. We'll probably do a show. Let's see. Today's the 21st. We'll do a show tomorrow on the 22nd and probably also one on the 23rd. I think that's like Christmas Eve. So I think you can expect me back here definitely tomorrow. And I'll have a show with Action Network coming out tomorrow as well over on their YouTube channel. And then on the 23rd, I'll probably be here for you guys as well. And then we'll celebrate some Christmas Eve and some Christmas and take a little break away from this player prop madness. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here. Peace to you as well said. Thank you guys for tuning in. I think we've hit on enough player props for today, though. I'll let you guys continue to chat it out, and we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.